उम्र भर गालिब एक ही भूल करता रहा, धूल चेहरे पे थी और आईना साफ करता रहा. I think that is our problem today. धूल चेहरे पे है और हम आईना को साफ करते रहते हैं. And we think that we are solving the problem.
A very good afternoon to everyone. I am Ankit Kanodia from SmartSync Services, a SEBI-registered investment advisory firm. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Mission Smile Leaders Ka Falsafa. Here we are going to have the management of listed businesses in India and will learn from their journeys, struggles and victories. For those who are watching this for the first time, Mission Smile stands for making new stock market investors learn it through engaging research. Before we begin, I would request everyone to please keep yourself on mute and switch off the video so that we can have a seamless discussion and soak in all the wisdom. You may type in your questions on the chat box. We'll take your questions at the end of the session. So let's begin. In our first episode of Leaders Ka Falsafa, we have Mr. Suresh Narayanan, Chairman and MD of Nestle India Limited. And the title of the session is Champion of Crisis. Some of you might already know what I mean by this, and others will figure this out as we go along. Suresh sir needs no introduction. He has almost 4 decades of experience in the FMCG space, and his leadership skills and holistic approach has helped many FMCG organizations to sustainably grow and scale up substantially. Even at Nestle, Suresh sir has worn many hats. Joining as a VP sales in 1999, he has seen it all, be it Indochina, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, Singapore, Egypt, Philippines, and I'm sure I would have definitely missed out on a few more countries where he was instrumental in making Nestle a generational, long-lasting brand. As SmartSync Services is a SEBI-registered investment advisory firm, we would like to make a disclosure as per SEBI norms. At the time of this session, I and my company have no holding in the stock of Nestle India, and we currently have no recommendation on the stock of Nestle for our clients. And today's discussions, anyway, is not going to be on quarterly numbers or financial guidance, but more about the story of Suresh sir and Nestle and what we investors can learn from it. We'll start with an opening remark from Suresh sir, and then we'll straight away go into the Q&A. Thank you so much, sir, for agreeing to do this. Over to you.
Thank you, Ankit. Thank you very much for your very kind words of introduction. I think it has been a privilege and an honor for me to participate in your inaugural session. So if the Shri Ganesh is good, then you can be sure that SmartSync will have many more of such sessions, which I do hope that is the case. As far as I'm concerned, I think what I would really like to talk to you about today is more a leadership journey. It is a journey. It is a perspective. There are many journeys and there are many perspectives, and many people who have achieved much more than what I can ever dream of. But these are my own perspectives and my own experiences that could be of some use in terms of providing some guidelines of what one could do in difficult situations or even in good situations. So that's what the purpose of today's session is. It is not, of course, to go into the financial performance of the company, and as you rightly said, you don't hold the script and neither do you recommend it. So therefore, you have made me khush by saying you don't hold it at the moment, but you're not going to recommend it is not making me very khush. But anyway, that's something that is up to you guys to decide how you want to proceed with the investments. So that's really what my opening remarks would be. It's really to solicit from you questions of what you would like to know, and if I'm able to answer it and be able to give you a perspective, I'll be happy. If I'm not able to, I will tell you honestly that look, I don't know much about it, and maybe I have to read and come back to you at a later date. So otherwise, it's a privilege for me to be part of this platform, and I look forward to engaging with you in the coming minutes. Thank you, Ankit.
Thank you so much, sir. So I'll without wasting any more time, I'll straight away come to the first question. So it would be great, sir, if you can please start with your early years in the FMCG space, something about your experience in working with HUL, and also about your early roles in Nestle when you joined in 1999.
Look, as a background, before FMCG happened, there was other things that happened. My education and my early formative years, and I come from a very middle class family. My father was a government servant, and both my parents spent more than half their salary to educate me. Because he was an honest man, and salaries in those days in the 70s was modest. It was not what it is today. He had to also take care of a larger family, so effectively they had to go through a lot of personal hardships to ensure that I get educated. And I think I went to the same school as your mentor, Narayana. Narayana and I share a background. We both went to Rishi Valley School, which is, I believe, and I don't boast about anything in my life, but I think it is the finest school that there is. And those of you who are having children should seriously look at a school that builds the foundational capabilities and that builds the values in children. You can get schools that teach very good mathematics, very good physics, very good chemistry, very good civics, and very good history. But there are very few schools that really form the holistic foundations of a young mind in terms of purpose, values, humility, and an intention to lead life well and honestly. And that's what Rishi Valley gave me. So I had my schooling for about 5 to 6 years in Rishi Valley. And then I was in Delhi University. I studied at the Sri Ram College of Commerce. And then I went to the Delhi School of Economics with every intention to be a bureaucrat. That is what my family dharma was. My father was a technocrat. My grandfather was a bureaucrat. So we all thought that it is the only thing that one does in life. And though it is a very, very noble profession, sometimes accidents happen, and that's really my first message to you, that you may intend to walk in a particular path, but a storm or a happenstance takes you on a different path. So when I was in the Delhi School of Economics, Hindustan Lever, as it was then called, came for the first time in its in recent history, in the early 80s, in 81, came to recruit students. And I was there more for the interview. I was told by my uncle, who was in the IAS, that it's good for the interview, very, very rigorous interview. So for the IAS interview, it will be useful. Little realizing that when you are really not looking or not seeking, you do your best. So in some sense, I ended up doing my best because I was not seeking. I was just waiting for the interview and the toughness of the interview to get over me, rather than looking at it from the point of view of getting a job. So, but anyway, it landed my way. And then my father made a very quick decision saying that my salary then was only a couple of 100 rupees below his salary after 25 years. So he said, beta, this would be probably a better place for you to be in financially. And that's how I joined Hindustan Lever. And I think I owe a lot to a lot of people. I owe a lot to my parents. I owe a lot to my teachers at Rishi Valley, at the Delhi School of Economics, at Sri Ram College of Commerce, and my professional career. I owe a lot to Hindustan Lever. I think it was a fantastic company to really learn. I had the inspiration of working under some of the finest leaders. It is sometimes called the CEO factory of this country, and it is not without reason. I think some of the best leaders have come from from the school that the lever management has imparted in all these years. So I started small. I started as a trainee and did all the jobs of a salesman, cleaning tins. Those days we had the dalda business. So I have cleaned dalda tins in Jodhpur in 45 degrees in the shade. I have traveled by bus from to Churu and to Ratangarh and to Sujangarh and to Sardarshahr and to Didwana and all these places in Rajasthan in the summer. So when it was 45, 50 degrees, we used to travel by bus. I've, as part of my training, spent 3 months in a village in Eta district to understand what rural India is all about. And all this gaining the experience of what the reality of India is. And let's not forget that even today, 40 years after I started work, still 70% of India is in villages. So I think an understanding of the ground reality is what this company gave. Numerous opportunities for growth. It's a meritocracy. I rose to be the head of sales for the tea and coffee business before I decided to leave Nestle and leave Hindustan Lever and join Colgate. I spent about a year in Colgate, another very fine company, a great organization. I think its people practices and its values and value systems are amongst the best that you can think of. But I was a foods person. In Lever, I had done a lot of the food part of it. I was in dalda, I was in tea, I was in new products. So therefore, to that extent, I was very much oriented towards the food products of the FMCG market. And therefore, when Nestle came offering me the job of sales director of the company, I chose to join Nestle. But I think one of the joys that I've had is to work in an organization where my purpose and my values of ethics, of honesty, of sincerity, and of impact and purpose with a lot of people has been fully met. And therefore, I continue to enjoy what I do. Success is a matter of degree. Happiness is universal. So I really feel that I've been blessed to be in all these three companies. Been through difficult times. I think I've had somebody says the kundli, the horoscope that you look at. My horoscope has been a lot of corporate difficult situations, crisis situations. Maybe sometimes I create the crisis, I don't know. But I've been through difficult times. But I've come out tougher. I've come out like steel through fire. I've come out more confident, more self-aware, more humble about what crisis can do for you and how it can catapult you to new heights. And I think that has been really, so those of you who go through difficulties in life, don't scoff at it. Don't say ye kismat ka khel hai. Sometimes I think if you believe in an Almighty, and all of us do, and I do, that it is engineered for you. It is given to you as a test. And if you pass that test, I think you are able to do much better in your lives. And as you work in a startup, or as you progress with SmartSync services, everything will not be rosy from day one. And I'm sure, Ankit, as you go past, you will have successes and you'll also have failures. Don't be deterred by failures, because failures will teach you the seeds of what success should look like, and what the tree of success will look like. And in my case also, I think these difficult moments have really defined the strength of character that I believe that these opportunities have given me. So that's really my story in the consumer goods space. Exciting moments, tough moments, challenging moments, but as I now approach the sunset of my own corporate career, I enjoy the fact that younger leaders are being formed, newer perspectives are being encouraged, and more energy of the youth is being imparted into my organization. And that's really the most gratifying and the most satisfying part.
Thank you so much, sir. So picking from your what you said right now regarding failures being the seeds of success. My next question would be something related to that as well. So we have kept the title of today's session as Champion of Crisis for a reason. When I went through your career graph, I noticed that you were put in a crisis situation many times. Let me highlight a few. Be it your stint in HUL, where you had to shut down a business unit, your experience in Singapore, where the country was facing extreme economic downturn, your stint in Egypt, when the country was facing a lot of volatility and turbulence, and finally the most famous one, which we all know, the Maggi crisis in India. And recently I read a book named A Biography of a Failed Venture, where the author says that one should study failures or crisis more than success, as each failure or crisis has something new to teach you. So I'd like you to take us through all of those struggles and crisis situation, and how did you manage to come out successful in each one of them, and what were your key learnings?
The one thing, Ankit, that I feel very uncomfortable with, and I have felt uncomfortable every time it is mentioned. It is not I who pulled the company or the operations out of difficult times. There was a team that was with me. There are numerous unsung heroes. We keep looking at the heroes that appear on screen. There are many heroes who don't appear on screen, who are not there in the visible public eye, who also make things happen. And I think I've been blessed that in all of these assignments, I have had people who have stood by my side, and if anything, have blessed me and have supported me and have unstintingly cooperated and trusted me. I think the biggest leadership challenge is not of popularity, but of trust. Leadership is not a popularity contest. You don't have to be the most popular leader. I think that is a contradiction in terms, because leadership means leading, which means taking the tough calls and taking the easy calls as well, and the pleasant calls as well. And when you take the tough calls, you are not going to be popular. You are going to be unpopular. So if you look at leadership as a competition of trust, it is far better for us to approach the larger context of leadership. So leadership and trust is something that I have held very close to my heart. And a couple of things that have helped me in each of these crises. My first crisis was, actually in Ahmedabad, where I was a unit manager of an animal feeds factory of Hindustan Lever, and then it was transferred to Lipton. And within 6 months or a year of joining, I was told that the factory had to move to Halol near Baroda. So we had to close down that factory. And for me, it was a gut-wrenching moment, because I had to therefore terminate the jobs of almost 50 workers, all of whom were as old as my father. So they were all my father's age, and because I was a 22, 23 years old. And that was very, 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 very difficult. But I said to myself, I said, look, I have to be authentic, I have to be truthful, and I have to be compassionate. It's easy for me to be dogmatic, it is easy for me to be opaque, and it is easy for me to be untruthful. I think all of this will go against the values that I've been brought up with. And remember, I talked about my background. I think my values were very different. So I did my very best to ensure that the workers were all along informed of where we were in the negotiation process, what I could do for them, what I could not do for them. And thereby, I think we had a very, very, very smooth closure at a time, and I'm talking about the early 80s, when there was trade unionism was at its peak. You would recall that people like the late Dr. Datta Samant were extremely aggressive in Mumbai. So Ahmedabad is not very far away, and the Naroda Industrial Estate was a very, very powerful estate. So to manage it. In fact, the union leader told me, he says, "You're a chokra, and as a chokra, you managed to convince us. That's a great achievement, because we could have made life miserable for you." So I really that was really my first lesson, that authenticity and trying to help as many people as you can is probably a good way to foster leadership. In fact, I still remember that the workers gave me a farewell. In fact, instead of me giving the workers a farewell, they said, "Look, we would like to give you a farewell because you've been decent and you've been honest with us." So I think after that I've had numerous crises. In Egypt, when I went, it was an Arab Spring. When I went there, everything was very calm. I was told by my bosses in Switzerland that it is actually a retirement posting, but you still have some years to go to retire, because even the sand from the pyramids have not fallen, and the Nile flows in the same direction, and there were first the pharaohs and then there are dictators. So nothing is going to change in this country. And within 6 months, we had the Arab Spring. Internet was cut, and there was chaos on the streets, and various things happened following the eruption of violence in Tunisia. So again, I think as a team, I was an Indian leading a team of multinational executives. Most of them were Egyptians, or they were Arabs, or they were French, or they were Germans, not speaking a word of the language. Internet cut, tanks outside the factory. And I said to myself, where the hell have I got myself into? I said, is this the kind of place that you should find yourself at this point in time? But nevertheless, you got together with the team, and we had an honest conversation that do we shut down everything, and do we wait for another day, or do we actually engage more in the time of crisis? So one of the early principles that I took, and it was more instinct, it was not kind of thought through. I told my team and my management team that none of us, including the foreigners, will leave the country. I said everybody is ditching the country, but we cannot and we should not leave the country, because nobody is harming us. Nobody had anything against me as an Indian. They had a problem with their dictator, and that is they wanted freedom. So that is a very different kind of principle. And then we discussed with the larger team, saying that, look, do we want to actually engage more in terms of the marketing and the products and the distribution and everything at this time? And the answer was yes. They said, "Sir, if you are with us, then we will do it." 15 days after the Tahrir Square demonstration started, Hosni Mubarak, the then president, decided to step down, and we went to open our factory. I was telling my technical director, I said, who was an Italian gentleman, I said, maybe 4 or 5 people might come to the factory because there is riots in the city, and transportation is not there. There are tanks all around. So he said, yeah, I guess if 5-10 people come, it's a big achievement. You won't believe it, Ankit. I went to the factory, 100% people were there. 100%, everybody. It was a factory that had 1,500 workers, and all 1,500, including 10% of them were women workers. They were all there. So I asked them, I said, why did all of you come? They said, sir, 2 reasons. Number 1 is that we love this company. Nestle Egypt, as it was called, is a company that has fed us, fed our families, fed our elders, and has taken care of us during good times and bad times. We will never ditch, never sacrifice the company that has given us our bread. And secondly, they said, you never left us. You were here. So we will not leave you either. I think simple lessons in leadership of how you should stand up and be counted. And today, what I'm amazed at is we have so many successful, unicorns and ultra unicorns, and so many successful entrepreneurs. They focus so much on the matrices and they focus so much on the valuation. If only they spent 20% time in building the culture and values of the organization, they will be even more successful. The longevity of old corporations, and I include Nestle as an old corporation because it was founded in 1865. This company is 167 years old. And the reason why it has been where it is because of this strong focus on purpose and values and caring as a family. And I think that is something that I learned from the Arab Spring. We invested incidentally in the 5 years that I was in Egypt looking after North Africa for the company. We grew on average 25% per annum. And we invested more in 5 years than we invested in the previous 20 years. So it is possible for you to be decent, to be human, to be compassionate, and yet to be target-oriented, focused, and to deliver strong business results. These are not mutually incompatible. In today's world, we seem to think that it is mutually incompatible. I have to be tough, I have to be nasty, I have to talk to Ankit rudely, I have to tell him that, look, this is not right and that is not right, and that is considered to be an aggressive leader. I think the definition of aggression is like the lion. The lion doesn't have to bare its fangs or to bare its teeth to tell you that he is a lion. You look at it and you can make out that this is a lion. An elephant doesn't have to trumpet in order to tell you that I am the elephant. You look at that elephant and you say that this is an elephant. It's the same with corporations and with leaders. When you look at somebody, you can say that this is a leader. This is not somebody who's a fellow who's barking somewhere and who doesn't mean what he says. So really, I think 3 principles is what I've learned in all these years in being in different crises. And when I came to the Maggi crisis, it was similar. It was the crisis in a company that was a very, very proud company. Nestle India has been in India now for 112 years. It's a very old company. Many of the iconic brands that I presume you and many of the listeners consume come from the house of Nestle. It's an honest company. It's an ethical company. It's a decent company. And it's a very proud company. We're very proud of our culture. Most people in the company, at least till now the generations are changing, so things might change, have spent anywhere between 10 years to 40 years in the company. Every year I give 20-year, 30-year, 35-year awards to people. And in some parts, in some factories, like our factory in Moga, the factory worker actually stitches a new suit, wears on a new pagdi, wears on a new pair of shoes, and his wife will be dressed in a similar color combination. And when I ask them, why do you do all this? They say, sir, after our marriage, this is the most important day of our life. These are the values that make a corporation. These are the things that are important in running a large enterprise. During the COVID pandemic, there was a salesman of mine sitting in Sikkim. Every day for 3 days, he was walking to the local office 14 kilometers up, 14 kilometers down to get permission to start distribution of our products. Because as you know, during the first phase of COVID, there were a lot of restrictions. Do you think I gave them the instructions? Do you think I sent him an email saying, please go and do it? He did it on his own. This is culture. This is culture. The ability to stand up and be counted when nobody is looking at you. And I think if you look at the lessons in focus, lessons on focusing on people, and number 3 is authenticity of purpose and values aligned across the value chain of the company. During the Maggi crisis, we took back 39,000 tons of stock from the market. And do you know, Ankit, it was very difficult for me to get the bill from the distributor for the transportation costs that they incurred in order to send the stock back. They said, इस कंपनी के साथ हमने 30, 40, 50, 100 साल काम किया है. We have earned from this company. We don't want to exploit you at this stage. But we said, you've been our partners, and our conscience will not be clear unless we settle every rupee that is due to you. We had the product withdrawn for almost 6 months. We had 6 factories that was making Maggi. They were all shut. We never had a single strike. We never had a single lockout. We didn't have anybody on the street saying, what have you done? How can this be allowed? I didn't have a single supplier on the street. I didn't have a single distributor on the street. This is purpose, values, culture, and authenticity. These are the values that I keep telling young people today. These are the values that have built great families. If you look at our families are built on values. There is no hierarchical structure that drives it. You will respect your father because you see something in your father to respect. Not because there is a Mr. So-and-so who's your father. I mean, that's not respect, that's fear. Respect comes only when you look at the characteristics of that person. So these features and these principles are extremely important in good times and in bad times. And your culture cannot be built in bad times. It has to be built in good times. Right? As Sant Kabir used to say, he says, दुख में सुमिरन सब करें, सुख में करे न कोई, जो सुख में सुमिरन करे, दुख काहे को होय. You pray only when there is trouble. When you pray when things are good, why should unhappiness happen to you? So the great grief of our times is not corporates with lousy strategies. It is corporates with lousy leadership. And you guys, the investing community, sometimes get carried away with the matrices and don't look inside to see the heart of the engine room, which is the leaders. And it is those leaders that are going to generate those matrices. Otherwise, those matrices won't happen on their own.
Very well said, sir. And that is the reason we are having this kind of a series now, so that we don't want to talk about matrices. We want to know about the engine, about the leaders, and how you have picked it up right from, say, something like in 1999 to what Nestle is today after 20, 25 years. It's very hard to imagine, as you talked about some startups and all. It's very hard to imagine for something, a startup creating something like that in, say, 5 years or 10 years or even 15 years. Because, as you rightly said, that the culture and the purpose would not be there, right? Sir, before I move on to the next question, I just wanted to ask you one thing. I have a lot of questions for you. Are we hard pressed on the time, or can we extend it beyond 6? That I wanted to know from you.
The beyond 6 will be a bit difficult. I was actually hoping that around 5:30, if you are able to complete 5:30, 5:45 would be better.
Okay. So then I'll restrict to the main questions only then. Sure, sir. Sir, my next question would be, please take us through your capital allocation strategies at Nestle. I mean, we are all investors and we know Warren Buffett, and Warren Buffett is arguably one of the best capital allocators in the world. And he talks about 4 ways to allocate capital: reinvesting in your own business, second, acquiring other businesses, third is dividends, and fourth is buybacks. So how do you look at Nestle on all these 4 fronts? And what were your priorities when you started, and what are your priorities now? If you can throw some light on that.
The principles used by Warren Buffett, and he's the sage of Omaha, is arguably the wisest investor that the world has seen. And I think he uses very simple principles. So there is what I like about Warren Buffett is that none of his principles are complicated. They are very straightforward and simple, that even an average intelligence person can understand, apart from, of course, the more sophisticated investors like you who are able to interpret it. Look, for us, I think allocation of capital, fundamentally, we invest firstly on our own business. And I think that is, we identify the pockets of growth, not only from the current, but from the future potential as well. We look at a combination of ability to win and also the resources and the return that it can generate for us. Number two, is there a strategic fit with the other businesses of the organization? Number three, is there a sustainable competitive advantage that we can build in the business? Number four, are we sustainably able to generate a return on invested capital, definitely higher than the cost of capital? And if so, to what extent? And number five is, if we did not get this business, what is going to be the impact on the company? Is there going to be a serious impact on the company? And the last point is, if it is an acquisition, to look at what is the cultural fit between the company and the acquisition candidate that we are looking at. I think these are some of the principles that we use, and I think they have served us quite well. As you know that certainly in India, Nestle, I'm very proud of the fact that I think we are either the highest or one of the highest return on invested capital as a company. Our ROIC is, I think, 100% plus or something. So it's a rather compelling figure. But yes, these are the principles that we use, and I think we have had a good. If you look at the last 7-8 year track record, the average return on our shares has been about 20% annualized. When I came to India, the average price of the Nestle share was 5,100 rupees. It went up in recent times to 21,000 rupees, and now it is sitting at about 20,000 plus on a consistent basis. We enjoy one of the highest PEs, which really means that the investor confidence in the future of the business is high. Our PE ranges at between 75 to 85. The parent PE is anywhere between 15 and 20. So you see that there is a extraordinary valuation that is given for our business, and I think we have delivered sustainable, profitable growth, double-digit top-line growth, and also double-digit bottom-line growth. We've had, of course, difficult times because of the inflation, for sure, but I think there is a resilience in the portfolio that makes us capable of being able to come out of difficult situations, but do so in a consistent manner, in a systematic manner. And as I once told one of the investors, I would rather be boringly consistent rather than brilliantly erratic. That is not the way the Nestle business model is structured to be.
So if I have a follow-up on this, say you mentioned about culture being very important when you look at acquisition. So can you share any example from the past where there was a very good business opportunity, but you may not name the company, but there was a business opportunity, and just because the culture was not fit, you went ahead and didn't go ahead with the acquisition?
We've had one or two examples in India where we saw a good business fit with one of the potential acquisition candidates, but we found a culture, especially on management of quality, that was very, very deficient. For us, Ankit, quality is everything. The reason why you look at it this way: the founder of the company, Henri Nestle, chose to put his name on the flag mast of the company. And his statement was that every pack that I sell, which has my name on it, has to be the best quality that human beings can make and the technology can make. So for us, quality and safety is exceptionally important. In fact, we make a fetish of it. Sometimes I myself, as the chairman of the company, say, my God, the kind of fuss we make about quality. But then I realize that one thing goes wrong, the reputation of the company can be so serious that you can't lift your head for the next decade. So this was one of those things where the quality, the way the factory was, the way the layout was. In one case, the packing line was next to the men's toilet. Now these kind of things at Nestle, there is no chance. You can say you will demolish the factory, build it again, and keep it. No, but for us, it tells you the culture that this is not the kind of culture that we can ever look at. So that's when we have walked away. On the other hand, we have had great integration of cultures. For example, our global acquisition of Ralston Purina's pet care business was a fantastic marriage of cultures. Ralston Purina is as much conscious about quality and market segmentation and competitive advantage as we are, and that has become one of the most successful businesses of the company. And the good part has been is that leaders from acquired companies also make it to the top of the company. So it is not that there is a Nestle born person and everybody else is like looking around and seeing whether they can make a living. People from Ralston Purina, people from Roundtree, people from the waters business, San Pellegrino, and from Perrier, they've all made it to very senior jobs in this company. So they also get the opportunity to contribute on a larger scale the values and the skills that they have brought to the table.
That was very interesting, sir. And as you mentioned about quality and reputation, I was again reminded of that Warren Buffett quote, which is very much applicable to companies like Nestle, wherein it takes years and decades to build a reputation, and it takes seconds to spoil it, right? So I can understand what you mean by this.
We went through that during the Maggi crisis.
Exactly.
We were a company that was unimpeachable. And the reason why we came back was because of the strength of the company on managing the business environment and on the love of the consumer. The consumer really said that this company has not done something wrong. It maybe managed it differently and then it should have managed, but it did nothing wrong and should not be put into the dustbin of history because of this incident. So I think reputation takes years to build and seconds to lose.
Yes, sir. So my next question is related to offline versus online distribution. So when you started your career and over the first 30 years, probably you would spend more time on physical distribution. But over the last 10 years, or specifically in the last 4 or 5 years, you would have seen the importance of online distribution. So we would like to know from you as to how can an investor or a businessman who is starting something now should look at these two spaces. Some people have this feeling as if online is the only thing and you don't need physical. Whereas some people are still in the old age where they think only physical will be able to work with physical only. What is your take on that as a company?
Look, I think fundamentally it depends on the consumer proposition that you have to offer. I think if you are in the fintech services area like you are in, there is no, you don't have to put leaflets and folders in banks in order to, or in public places in order to make your business happen. But if I am a product like a noodle or a chocolate or a coffee or whatever I have to offer, These have got two routes to the consumer's mouth. One is through the online channels. And I think one of the things, the difference between what is happening today, Ankit, and what was true 10, 15 years ago was distribution was a competitive advantage and a barrier to entry. So the reason why many could not make the cut into consumer goods is because they didn't have a distribution system. Because the lever distribution system or the Colgate system or the Nestle system takes decades to build. It has taken us many decades to build this distribution system. It doesn't happen automatically. So one of the things that online business did was it started deconstructing the competitive advantage of physical distribution. But look at the hard reality of the numbers. Even today, for a company like Nestle, 80% of our business will come from the mom and pop stores. I cannot forget the Kirana wala. I can't forget the small outlet. I can't forget the chemist. These are all important. About 10 to 15% of business will come from so-called modern trade outlets. That is the likes of Reliance, of D-Mart and others. And about 5 to 6% of business is coming out of e-commerce. So my future is still with ensuring how best I can service the Kirana. When I was a sales director more than 15 years ago, I always thought that the modern trade in this country, and that time, people like Carrefour and others and Tesco and others had come into this country. I thought it will grow from nothing to at least 30, 40% of the business. But after 20 years, it is still 10, 15% of the business, which means that the cost to serve, the efficiency, effectiveness, and turnaround of capital that the retailer is able to do, and now in a digitized world is able to do even better. You see, look at it this way. Your neighborhood retailer, Ankit, knows what you like, what your wife likes, what your father likes, what your mother likes. And when you go to buy something on a chit on which you get a 1 month credit anyway, he doesn't even ask you for the money. He says, Babuji ke liye, ye namkeen aaya hai. Maa ke liye ye mithai aaya hai. Right? Baba ke liye ye chocolate aaya hai. Right? Who is going to give you this kind of service? And today they are next to your house. So as they get more digitized, their capacity and capability, and remember, all of them are supporting jobs. In an average retail outlet today, you've got anywhere between 4 to 5 people, and maybe half of them are family people. But even family people have to work. So the way I see it is, the grand scheme of things is not going to change dramatically. Maybe that 6% will become 10%. But I cannot imagine an India where 60% will be online and 40% will be offline. At least in the next 10, 15 years, and after that, maybe I won't be around. Maybe I'll be too old to make these comments about the trade. So I think we have to be very clear in our mind that consumers will find the best way to deal with their competitive propositions. Today, you've got many groceries, as you know very well, who have got online capabilities. So they take online orders and they supply you, or they take it on WhatsApp and they supply you. So you get home delivery, you get assortment, you get credit. You can even return the product. Acha nahi laga mere ko. And because you're a high value customer, the fellow says, "ठीक है साहब, अब 2 डब्बा वापस कर दिया, so all right, I will absorb it." Try doing that with any of the other channels and see what happens to you. Nobody will accept it.
So, sir, a follow-up on this, when you see something like a Blinkit or a Big Basket, where most of the people now, the young generation is now ordering a lot online, So don't you think this e-commerce proportion will go up in the next, say, 10 years?
It will go up. It will go up. See, today, if you look at it in the grocery segment, for us itself, the business was less than 1% 5 years ago. In 2021 to 22, it is close to 6%. So it has grown substantially, no doubt about it. But will 6 become 60?
Yeah.
That I don't see that immediately happening. So quick commerce is clearly here to stay. But quick commerce, Ankit, as you know very well, has to get the business math right. Today, the cost of servicing the consumer is far higher than the margin generated by the sale. How long will you continue this? अरे भाई ये 2000 करोड़ का टर्नओवर और 3000 करोड़ का लॉस जो है कितने दिन चलाओगे तुम? Someday some investor will say कि भाई साहब please start giving me some return. I mean, unless you are purely valuation game के एक से you keep passing on the buck कि आज इसको टोपी पहनाया, कल उसको टोपी पहनाया, तीसरे दिन किसी और को टोपी पहनाया. Unless that happens.
Right, sir. Sir, so moving on, this is my favorite question actually. I wanted to ask you this one the most. So because it is something related to my personal experience. So in 2018, when my kid was about 4 years old and I was, he's now 8 years, that is when we first knew about Yippee. Because he heard from some of his friends that they eat Yippee. And that was the first time when we bought Yippee in our house. And me and my wife, who are hardcore Maggi fans since 25 years old. So we thought that maybe newcomers will have a shot at it, but we will never change. But cut to 2022, now I'm still a die-hard Maggi fan, but I do take in Yippee also because my son has Yippee. So why I shared this incident is because I think Maggi has spent years and decades to make that mark in the consumer's name. But even after that, how is it possible for a company, a new brand like Yippee, to still find its small place in the market? And how do you see that going ahead?
Firstly, let me say that Yippee is a very respectable brand. I always respect my competitors. It comes from a very respectable company. So therefore, you are not consuming a shoddy product or a shady product by no stretch of imagination. I think brand promises are established over a period of time, and nobody can expect that you are going to be 100% of the market. I think, look at any category, whether it is financial services, whether it is computers, whether it is software, whether it is consumer products, shampoos, soaps. We got massive companies. There is Hindustan Lever and Procter & Gamble and Godrej and everybody. So, consumers have their choice. Similarly, in the noodle segment, there are the die-hard fans, and we are the market leaders by far. That people will choose us, but there will also be people who will choose the competition brands, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think it helps me to re-energize myself and to reinvigorate myself in terms of new competitive offerings. So I see it as a positive development for the category that there is competition, and we have that competition across our categories. We also have competition across the retail network. There are retailers today who are getting into the consumer goods segment. They will be making their offerings, and there will be a chipping off there. But I think the strength of Nestle is to be able to be relevant and resonant and robust at all points in time. And I think that's the journey that we follow. So honestly, I don't get provoked by the competition question. In fact, it energizes me.
Thank you. So is it fair to summarize it that as new competitors come and quality competitors like Yippee, it will help you grow the market only, right?
No,
So
I think consumers need choice. We all need choice in whatever we consume, and if it helps the if it helps the consumer, it helps the category. And I think we've seen that in category after category. If you look at the colas, for example, you have Coke, and then you have Pepsi, and you've got other brands as well. So it's not that Coke is bad or Pepsi is bad. It's that somebody likes some other taste, right? And then they take it. So when your son chooses Yippee or Maggi, it doesn't mean that Maggi is bad. He makes that choice. The father is still choosing Maggi or Yippee. That doesn't mean that this is the only brand. There's also the other brand.
right, sir. So moving on, so you have been in Nestle for more than 2 decades now. So it would be great if you can take us through the Kal, Aaj and Kal of Nestle. As in, why I'm asking this is the victories and struggles of a 5,000 crore market cap company and a 2 lakh crore market cap company are completely different. And how do you see its journey from something like a 2 lakh crore business today to maybe 20 lakh crore in the future?
Sure, I think firstly, Nestle's legacy and heritage has been very strong. As I said, we've been around. We started as the Anglo-Swiss condensed milk company in India. Then we became Food Specialities Limited, and then we became in 1992 Nestle India Limited. So it has been a long journey. Started with a single product, Milkmaid. Introduced the coffee category substantially. Introduced the noodles. We were the first company to be out with instant noodles in this country. Introduced KitKat to this country. So therefore we've had a pioneering role in many of the brands. And I've had a very healthy track record of both growth and profitability and rewarding investors. Plus, we've also had a significant impact on the way in which we work and deal with partnerships. I don't know if you're aware, Ankit, but Nestle deals with more than 100,000 farmers as a company. 100,000 dairy farmers in Punjab and Haryana and Rajasthan, out of which over 60,000 of them are female dairy farmers. So long before diversity became a big topic of discussion in the boardrooms, Nestle was already dealing and having business relationships with women dairy farmers. We deal with coffee farmers, almost 4,500 coffee farmers in Coorg and in Kerala. These coffee farmers produce sustainable coffee for us. They are paid more. Each farmer is paid 3 rupee 50 paisa more for the coffee beans that they produce to us on what is called the Nescafe plan. We have a sustainable program for spices across the country in 6 states. So we've got like a banyan tree. We've got an umbrella of numerous partnerships that we work with as a company. So this success obviously has led to the growth of the organization. Till now, it has been entirely organic, but the inorganic space is certainly open to us as we move forward. This stage of Nestle is what I call the open up stage. Today, the aspiration is seeking availability. Thanks to the data revolution in this country. Indians, as you know, consume more data than China, and that's because of all the videos that we see. So, there is a small town like Hathras looking at the same videos that Delhi looks at and that Jaipur looks at, and the aspiration is also similar. You want to have the same kind of products and the same kind of offerings. So that is opening up, and therefore the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns for India for Nestle is opening up quite significantly. We have enjoyed strong growth in all these towns. So this is the new phase of the opening up of Bharat, as it were. for Nestle. That is going to become critical. If I look forward 10, 20 years from now, Nestle will probably become more of a service-oriented company rather than a pure product company. By service, what do I mean? Nutrition service, recipe service, catering service, health and health advice service, toddler and toddler nutrition related service. So all of this will become integral part of what the brand experience will be. So brands will not be bought because they are physical commodities or physical entities. They will be bought because of the experience, and the experience will be that I have a Maggi along with the culinary expertise of this company, with recipes, with various other things that go together to make that experience happen. So the experiential part of the company or the services arm of the company will grow faster after a period of time. So I see the transition of the company from a single product or a two product kind of company to a multi-product all India company or all Bharat company to a product, brand and services company of the future.
Right. So this was something very new. I never had any idea about Nestle going into services. So this is something new I learned from you today.
So have it, we've got a site called Ask Nestle, and those of you who can Google it can see it. Ask Nestle is, there's a lot of fake news in this country. Fake news on politics, fake news on people, on various things. And one of the biggest fake news is on nutrition. Ye khao, wo mat khao, eat this in this quantity, eat that in that quantity. So we noticed as a company that, as a global entity, I mean, apart from Nestle being the largest consumer goods company in the world, we also spend almost $1.5 to $2 billion on R&D worldwide. And the whole expense is on things like nutrition, science, gut health, and various other things. So we said, why don't we take some of this information and put it on a curated site, which can be used by mothers for child health, for recipes, for other nutrition related queries, etc. And we called it Ask Nestle. And this site, which is operating today in English and Hindi, has more than 10 million or 10, 11 million hits and growing, because people use it as a trusted site for downloading information on nutrition, on values, on what to eat, what not to eat, at what stages of their life, what to feed the children, snacking ideas, and a whole host of things. So this is already there. We have got a direct to consumer initiative, which is currently in Delhi NCR, called My Nestle. And My Nestle also offers you nutrition counseling. So you can fix the time for nutrition counseling, and a counselor will be available to you to advise you on whatever nutrition queries you got. So the service platform is already started.
Great. So I think you would be having some plans on adding some vernacular language as well, right? Right now it's only in English and Hindi. Because
there is a plan to add languages like Bengali, languages like Marathi, languages like Telugu, like Tamil. These are all languages that are on the anvil.
Great. So moving on, I think we have 20 more minutes, as you said at 5:30 is what you want to. So I'll just ask a few personal questions to you, which I think can be very useful for us. So how has Nestle changed you as a person over the last 20 or so years, if I had to ask you?
Look, firstly, I have truly loved working for this company. And the reason I love working for this company is because my personal values and purpose and the values of this company are fully aligned. The values that I have of respect, of dignity, of hard work, of humility, of honesty, and of trust are exactly the values that the company also looks at in its dealings with people. So therefore, it keeps me going. It also has changed me in another way, in the sense that I realize how little I know. Even though I'm sitting at the apex of this company, I realize in all humility, with the young generation that is upon us, how little I actually know and how much value these young people are bringing to the organization. Today, my office, which I'm sitting from, which you can see on the screen, 80% of this office are millennials and Generation Z. They're all young people. And the kind of commitment, the energy, the ideas, the lateral thinking that they're able to bring keeps me refreshed and keeps me energetic, because I realize that, look, I'm surrounded by people who are much cleverer than me. They are respecting me because of my position and my age, but I need to add back value to them. And the value that I can add back to them is in terms of leadership principles, perspectives, bit of judgment, because you've been working for a long time. And you get what is called gut feel on a lot of things that you're able to share with them, saying this might work, this might not work, and which is valuable for them. So I'm quite I'm humbler, and I feel more energized. I feel more lively, and I feel more curious because of the young people who surround me.
Thank you, sir. I'm reminded of that quote. I forgot who said that the more you learn, the more you realize how ignorant you were, right? As you mentioned about your journey. So, sir, one last question or second last question as to what would be your advice to anyone who is starting a new venture, maybe in FMCG or something else? What would be your 3, 4, 5 core principles you would want to teach him or her who is starting up right now?
Well, I'm not the biggest expert on startups, but if I were to look at businesses in general, number one is ensure that whatever proposition you have is compelling, competitive, and sustainable. If your proposition cannot be quantified, cannot be measured, or cannot be felt, don't even venture into it. Drop it and do something else. That's number one. Number two, set up an organization for success and choose your team well, which is choose people who not only agree with you, but people who disagree with you. What we normally do is we assemble people who all agree with us. Founder, boss, you are the great. I got ESOPs tied with you. Therefore, I will do exactly what you do. I don't think that's a good strategy. That's number two. Number three, work on the ecosystem of the company, which is have trustworthy partnerships, a few partnerships, and nurture them. Don't allow them to be basically milking cows that you look at for extracting what you call value. Give them also value. Number four, build the culture of your organization. Leadership and culture begins with you. If you're a founder, if you're a co-founder, if you're one of the principal people in the company, you guys are responsible for the culture of the company. And number five, stand up to failures when they happen and find a way of improving your proposition. What typically happens is when there is a failure, everybody is looking at somebody else. So some co-founder exits the company, some other fellow exits the company. This is what happens. You have not identified what the root cause of the problem is. You identified the person whom you think the problem is. So these 4 or 5 principles is what I would really recommend. And the last one, look at sustainable, profitable models, not just sustainable valuation models. Valuation is important, but value is to both you, the investor, and the consumer. If there is no value to the consumer, you need not be proud of the valuation to the investor and the valuation for yourself.
Awesome. I really like the last one, sir, because we investors are also often too much focused on the valuation number rather than on the fundamentals of the business.
No, I'm surprised. Sometimes, we talk about earning ratios of 1,600 times and 1,800 times. Anyway, what are you buying? Are you buying a planet or are you buying some proposition? And we support it, and the investors support it. I was telling an investor once, I said, if I drop my operating margin by 50 basis points, you skin me alive and you say the model is finished and this company is going to get into liquidation. Somebody lands up just doubling the losses that they have made and you say, wow, this is the business of the future.
So, sir, since you are making that point, I just want to ask one question. We still have 10 minutes. So, one thing which you think that startups should learn from organizations like Nestle, and one thing which you think Nestle can learn from startups?
What I can learn from a startup is speed and risk-taking ability. I think these are two things that a startup has that I'm trying to build into my company. And what a startup can think, can talk about can learn from a large company is, if relevant, culture and process. Process is important. When you become large, you need to have a process. You can't do andhadhun. It can't be owner saying, "Chalo, theek hai yaar, kar do, usko baad mein dekha jayega." There has to be a process to it. So process and culture is probably what I'll learn from a large organization, and speed and risk taking is what I would learn from a startup.
That was really helpful, sir. So one last question. While I was researching about you, I went through a lot of your interviews. And in many of your interviews, I've observed that you use a lot of Dohas to drive home your point. And today also you used one at the start. So I don't want to let you go before knowing which Doha is your personal best, or maybe a couple of them, and who is the inspiration behind them.
Look, I think the inspiration behind the Dohas that I've learned is the common Hindi teacher that Narayana and I used to have in Rishi Valley School, a gentleman called Mishraji, who was our Hindi teacher. And I think all the Dohas that I've learned are learned from him. He used to tell this in class and I used to absorb it. And, I think what you learn in your childhood, you seldom forget. Now you ask me to learn 10 more new Dohas, I can't learn. Right? But what I want to leave you with is not really with a Doha, but with a Sher from Ghalib. And that typifies the problem that we have with a lot of issues today. And Ghalib said, उम्र भर गालिब एक ही भूल करता रहा धूल चेहरे पे थी और आईना साफ करता रहा. I think that is our problem today. धूल चेहरे पे है और हम आईना को साफ करते रहते हैं. And we think that we are solving the problem.
Within. If we look within, we get all the answers. So thank you so much, sir, for ending on such a high note. We had a lot of questions, but I respect your time, and thank you so much again, and thank you so much, Narayanan sir.
You've got 9 minutes time. So if there are any questions from anybody, I can answer you in 9 minutes time. 5:30 now, 5:21 हुआ है.
ठीक है. Anyone in the audience, you want to ask anything? You can raise your hand or you can type in the chat box. I'll just unmute you if you can just raise your hand. I don't see anyone raising hand. Anyone with any question?
सब अंकित थक गए.
नहीं थके नहीं है. Akhilesh, you want to ask anything? I'm unmuting you. Akhilesh, I'm unmuting you. You can ask.
Jitendra Mehta has put up his hand.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. Good evening, sir. Akhilesh Pathak here. I have been inspired by you as we have been inspired by Narayanan Sir, because we saw one of the picture where you were taking a morning breakfast there and you were so humble. So I just thought, I'll ask something related to that, as well as, one of the other businesses that we have currently that we are growing. So what makes you so humble, and how that humility comes in? Maybe that is background, or that is the values that you're carrying in. First question. And the second question is, we are building a organic food products business currently, and we think what has happened in US in terms of Whole Foods creating that different category in US, and then Amazon acquiring that company, will that happen in India also?
Very good question, Akhilesh. Let me answer your second question first. I think, look, organic, unfortunately, in our country, if I look at it, has not caught as much of roots as you might think it should. And I think largely it is because organic products are not seen as affordable products. Many of our organic products are quite expensive. And India is still a value-seeking country. Even if you are a multimillionaire, when you are buying, to give 2 rupee per kilo extra to the cauliflower, you will think as if you are parting with 2% equity to a investor. So
Yes, sir, absolutely right.
so I think we'll have to build a larger kind of consensus on organic. And if you really make affordable organic products, I think there is a lot of scope for it. But it is going to be a slow process, and I think we have to work on that. On your first question, look, I mean, honestly, I am both the product and the victim of the values that stand by me. And I've always believed that everything, Akhilesh, in life is transitory. Good things and bad things are transitory. Success and fame is transitory. Position and the lack of it is transitory. And if you take, I've always believed in not taking yourself too seriously. And
That's so profound and inspiring, sir.
and one of the things that has helped me a lot is that I've got a wife who ensures that I am on the ground, and I've got a daughter who puts me underground. So therefore जब ये लोग दो हैं तो मुझे कोई फूक कहीं के नहीं है. So and I think it's easier that way, because when you lose this, which all of us will, all of us will lose power, lose position, lose money, lose youth, all of that will happen. Then you don't feel it as much. You'll feel it, but you won't feel as lost as you will if you are a haughty person or an arrogant person, because then you think that तुम्हारा अस्तित्व जो है वो मिट गया है.
Sir, thank you so much, sir. That's so profound and inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Akhilesh, for the questions. So now we have 3 hands being raised. I think you have time to address them, right?
ठीक है.
Okay, great. So I've unmuted Jitendra Ratra ji. You may go ahead. Yeah, Jitendra ji, you can go ahead with your question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Suresh, sir. Thank you, Ankit, for organizing the session. It was a great session. Sir, I wanted to ask one quick question related to both the personal life and the professional life. We all come under the situation when we feel frustrated, we feel down, and we feel angry. So how you maintain your calm in those situations? When we look at the history, we always find that situation was could have been handled in a good way, but what you are and how you deal your character in that particular situation at that particular time is what defines you. So I just wanted to, understand from your experience how you tackle those kind of situation and how you maintain your calm.
दो चीजें हैं जितेंद्र, very good question, and I've had my own frustrating moments. I continue to have it, so please don't think that I don't have it. I also have it like you and like all my other friends on the call. Two things, मैं चीजों के बारे में ज्यादा सोचता नहीं हूँ. So I don't agonize myself. ठीक है, कुछ मिला तो मिला, नहीं मिला तो नहीं मिला. I don't agonize myself, क्यों नहीं मिला, किस लिए नहीं मिला, because I think it is why cry over spilt milk. हो गया है. That number one. Number two, don't take yourself too seriously. हम लोग क्या करना, हम लोग समझते हैं कि हम बड़े गुरु हैं. Today I am the chairman and managing director of Nestle India. कल नहीं होऊंगा. And that is the reality that will sink in. And when that happens, to have the equanimity to be able to still earn the respect of people. I hope, Jitendra, you will respect me when I'm not the chairman of this company. That for me is more important than if you respect me when I'm chairman of the company. When chairman of the company, ठीक है, गद्दी है, जो भी है, you get that izzat because of being in a large company, and it is the izzat for Nestle, and it is the izzat for the chair. It is not the izzat for that person. The izzat for that person is done differently. So I think if you don't agonize yourself too much, and if you keep yourself, don't take yourself too seriously, you will quickly come out of it, and you will dust yourself. And as Nelson Mandela said, it is not in the falling, but it is in dusting yourself and rising again that mankind proves itself. And that's what it is. अरे गिरना जो है वो बड़ी बात नहीं है. सब लोग गिर जाते हैं. Every man, even the biggest hero in this world, the greatest leader in this world has fallen. But to dust yourself and then to say that मैं जाग गया हूँ, I'm now in for the next walk. That is what courage and that is what confidence is all about.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for great advice. I will definitely apply it personally. Thank you.
Thank you, Jitendra, for the question. I'll now invite another Jitendra Mehtaji. You please go ahead and ask your question. I have unmuted you.
Thank you very much. Very nice session.
Yes, sir.
Now, what's your advice to be active at mid-age in business? As you 50% answer already you given, frustration will be there every day. But in spite of that, how we can active and work family life as well as business life?
I think family life, learn to cherish the relationships. When all of you are very busy when you are young, some of us neglect the family life. हम सोचते हैं कि या तो बिजनेस में 18 घंटे लगाओ या तो किसी के ऑफिस में 18 घंटे लगाओ. And you think that your children, you think that your wife, you think that your parents, they are going to be sitting there waiting for you to come back all the time. I think nurture those relationships. I think they are more important than your business itself. Because आखिर में you'll only have these few people standing around you when the end comes. And let's be very clear, end to sabka aega. So nurture the relationships and nurture the family ties. If you have parents, spend time with them. I always regret, I had both my parents are no more, but I always regret that maybe I should have spent more time with my parents. हुआ नहीं, किसी कारणवश नहीं हुआ. So I told Jitendra, the other Jitendra, I don't cry over spilt milk. I say pleasant memories of them is what I will hold dear in my life. And that's the same thing that I will give you as well. Don't neglect your personal life. Don't neglect your family life. Don't neglect your relationships, because आखिर में यही टिकेंगे. पैसा आपके पास होगा नहीं होगा, गद्दी होगी नहीं होगी, but these are the things that you will live by. And I think the second thing is continuously try and learn something. Seekhte raho. Learn something new, learn something different. That's the only way in which you can mentally keep yourself active. Why am I participating today at Ankit's request? Is because like to share with the younger people whatever little I've learned. I can sit and do something for 2 hours. It's not that I have a shortage of work to do, but it is because I feel that it is important that whatever little I've learned, if I can share it and किसी का भलाई हो जाए, तो वो बहुत अच्छा है. And I think you seek a larger cause and a larger purpose to life when you participate like this. And I would encourage you with whatever request I have at my command, that don't allow that opportunity to elude you. Use that opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jitendra ji. Apurva, I am unmuting you. You may ask your question now.
Hi, Ankit. Thanks a lot for this opportunity, and hi, sir. This was great listening to you. I have a question. I'm 29 years old, sir, and my last stint was an associate director, and for last 3-4 years, I've been fortunate to be in boardrooms and work with CXOs, but not very fortunate to work with very such sensible leaders. So the question I want to ask is, when you were in your early years, when you were getting into leadership, you would have found that people usually like conformists, people who tell yes to everything. But if you want to achieve something, and mostly things which are successful cannot be achieved by saying yes. There has to be somebody who has to say spade a spade, day a day, and night, right? It cannot be that I can agree to you saying that if you say right now it is day, I cannot agree to you. That is where I am loyal to my company and I'm loyal to the objective of it. How did you handle that phase where you realize that you cannot be a conformist, but you also realize that human psychology, that people like conformists?
Very good question, Apur. Very good question. Two simple principles that I would urge you to do, which I have used. Number one, never go against your conscience. Never go against your conscience. अगर आपकी अंतरात्मा कहती है that this is the way it should be, that is the way it should be. And never question your antaratma, because there is some reason why it is saying whatever it is saying to you. So never go against your conscience. Number two, never forsake courage. You can say what you have to say politely, but well. Find the occasion. Maybe the occasion is not that particular meeting where you have to confront your boss. Let's say if your boss is having a serious issue and your thinking is going down the path. Plan in your head कि भाई इस आदमी से कब मैं बात करूंगा, अकेले में बात करो, अकेले में बात करो, talk to them separately, make him feel that he is winning by following what you're suggesting. I've always believed in that philosophy. I never believed in telling the boss, you idiot, who promoted you.
Got it.
That is a career limiting move. वो director से आप associate हो जाओगे.
Correct.
Because the man will say, look, he's insulting me. So never forsake your conscience and never forsake courage. And if your conscience is being forsaken, decline it. I have sometimes said, I'm sorry, I can't do this particular thing. Maybe I've lost out. Maybe I've lost out an increment, a promotion, a reward. ठीक है भाई. I mean, okay.
Got it.
जितना मिला है, अच्छा मिला है, भगवान ने बहुत आशीर्वाद दिया है. Sometimes you don't get because somebody and people have told me, and unfortunately what happens in most companies is that in the early stages of your career, for the first 10-15 years, you're 29 years old, till you are 40 years old, you will be measured by individual KPIs. फिर अचानक बोलेंगे अभी तुम तो बड़ा टीम लीड करना चाहिए, you should be a director, you should be फलाना ढिमाका, and the measurement that you have used in the past has all been individual. And suddenly you said that अंकित को भी मोटिवेट करना है, आशुतोष को भी मोटिवेट करना है, और दिलीप को भी मोटिवेट करना है, सबको मोटिवेट करना है, वो होता नहीं है फिर. So I think sometimes you have to just step back, use your courage, use your conscience, and never go against it. And my third piece of advice, never go against your values.
Got it.
Even during the worst Maggi crisis, the company value was very clear. The company said, do what is ethical, do what is right. अगर आप वो नहीं कर सकते हो और कंपनी का अनफॉर्चुनेटली अगर बंद होगा तो बंद होगा, but you will not do anything that is unethical. So because of that, I feel a greater bond to the organization because they encouraged me to be ethical and to be with my values. Suppose they had said कि भाई इसको 200 crore खिला दो, उसको 300 crore खिला दो, I would have said no, and maybe I would have been sitting at home and having a chat with Ankit. But I think keep these three principles in mind, and by and large, I'm not saying all the time. And if you lose something because you don't conform, इट्स ठीक है भाई, तुम्हारा कॉन्शियस तो कहेगा कि अंतरात्मा तो कहेगा कि भाई अपूर्व ने जो किया गलत काम नहीं किया.
Got it, sir.
And you should be able to get up, it's called the mirror test. You should be able to get up in the morning and look at the mirror and say, this apurva is an apurva that I want to see thriving
Got
and
it.
all as a human being.
Thank you, Apurva.
Got it. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you.
Sir, one last question. I see one last hand, Ashutosh. Ashutosh, I am unmuting you. You get the opportunity to ask the last question.
Thank you.
Ashutosh, we can't hear you. Can you be a bit louder, please?
Yeah. Thank you, Ankit, and thank you, Suresh, sir, for this opportunity and this great session. So, actually, you partially answered my question. So, that was regarding how do big conglomerates like Nestle and like Cadbury, whenever they face this crisis, like Nestle faced the Maggi crisis and Cadbury faced their crisis regarding the quality of the product. So one thing was right, you focused on the values, but the second thing was, did you change how you communicated with customers or stakeholders or distributors?
Yes, I think you're right, Ashutosh. Certainly in the Maggi crisis, I won't be able to talk with certainty about how it was done in the Cadbury or the Mondelez crisis, but in the Maggi crisis, one did go out and communicate a lot more. You would have seen interviews of mine every other day in the newspaper or in the media. But Ashutosh, that I had that strength because I knew that the company would never ever do anything wrong on quality and safety.
Right, right.
अगर मुझे शक होता ना कि हम कुछ चोरी कर रहे हैं, that confidence would never have come. I would have said no, but we will look at it and we will come back to you, and So your strength will always come from your position, from your conviction, from your values, from your purpose, and from your behavior. If you have that strength, then you can communicate that strength, and then people can see that strength. They can see in the way you talk कि भाई आदमी सही कह रहा है. He's not bluffing or he's not lying, and then you build that trust over a period of time.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Ankit, for my last question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashutosh, and thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone, for being patient listener. And sir, whatever I say, it will be not enough to express our gratitude. And I'm sure people who were around, and there will be many people who will be watching the recording of this when we'll put it on YouTube. I'll share the link with you, sir, so that you can share with your team as well. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for everything. And we hope you continue to do the kind of values you have spoken about in this session. May Nestle as an organization continue to hold those values and go from strength to strength. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I really appreciate the long conversation that I had with you, and also I thank everyone for the questions that you had. It was most stimulating for me. I enjoy this, and that's why I participated wholeheartedly. You are all of you, I presume, excluding Narayana, of course, will be younger than me. So therefore, I can only extend my choicest best wishes to you all and my blessings to you all. जो भी कर रहे हो अच्छा करो, औरों के लिए अच्छा करो, समाज के लिए अच्छा करो और देश के लिए अच्छा करो. Remember that these are precious moments, and these are precious years in your life. And if you do all of this, I think you will lead a very, very happy life and a very content life. And may that be your shadow for the rest of your life. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.